Welcome everyone, the name is Laszlo. In this video I will be explaining a few tricks I used to build the calendar I have introduced you guys in video part 1. I will be continuing from where we left off, so if you have missed out on the previous video, click the link in the description below to catch up. This video is aimed at developers and those who are eager to learn a little bit more about Excel. So if you are watching this, I will assume that you are more than comfortable with Excel, primarily with the writing of formulas, and that you have a basic knowledge of working with macros also. Now let's get started. Starting with the navigation panel, an easy way to building these is using shapes. A handy tip here is to use multiple shapes to cover individual columns. So if you ever have to adjust the column width, your shapes will not betray you. Please note that I have unprotected this sheet before showing you this. So resizing column D is smooth, while if I was to do that with column H, I'm going to get an overlap. Once the shapes are in place, simply right click them, choose the insert link, and to reference another sheet, select page in this document. Self-updating dates, nothing new under the sun here. Have a look at my formulas and references that I have left in columns A and B. It is in B4 that I have defined the first Monday of the month. The only thing to note here is that in cell D2 I don't have a dynamic formula, but I have a date stamp, a static date to update. And this will become more clear later on as I explain about how this calendar updates itself. The rest of the magic is all to do with conditional formatting. This is a tool that is not particularly close to my heart, as unacquainted users often confuse the shades with the background color of the cells. Also because copying the cells will copy the conditional formatting rules as well, which can really mess up your workbook. I'll show you an example over here, so it will copy your formatting as well. And also because the referencing of cells in the rules can get a bit tricky. I personally would recommend using custom formatting instead of conditional formatting. It will give you more control and enable you to build a more robust worksheet. But since in this instance the user is not urged to mess with the dates, they're just for display purposes, I do not mind using them. If the whole subject of replacing conditional formatting with custom formatting is new to you, I have left an excellent video on the subject from Leila Garani in the description section below. Check it out and show her some love from me. Now let's take a look at conditional formatting rules. As you look at the rules, note my references, where they are locked by the dollar sign, where they aren't. And as always, the golden rule is with conditional formatting to be sure to select the first cell of the range when typing in your formula. Bottom up, formatting your values white is an age-old trick to rely on to hide what you don't want the user to see. As you can see here, this is how I have managed to get rid of dates towards the bottom of my sheet that I'm not going to be using. The next one up is the orange marker that utilizes a VLOOKUP formula. It considers columns B and C as my lookup range and looks at the date in the cell I am evaluating, checking whether it is in the same row, column 2, it finds an H or an O or not. The blue marker above is self-explanatory, and the red color is utilizing a COUNTIF function to locate the date in question. This is for the reminder section. To show you the last bit relevant to the calendar sheet, I'm going to open up the VBA editor, and you will find my code to update the calendar under the this workbook object. Let me show that in here. The workbook open event is going to trigger my code that simply checks whether today's date is greater or equal to the first Monday of the coming month, which has already been defined. If this check is true, then it records the first of the current month in D2, and thus updating our date stamp here, and also sets the values of our in and out and notes section to reflect next month's, and clears up all the outdated information. After saving our workbook, it gives us a pop-up message, and whether the calendar did need updating or did not, it's going to stand in cell A1 to make it look all nice and clean. Feel free to pause the video at any moment and crunch the code until it becomes all clear, and I do hope that my comments will help you also. Before moving on to the budget sheet, allow me to point out an issue I left unaddressed when writing my code. If you were to not open this worksheet for over a month, the notes under the coming month will be treated as if they were current, while that might already be out of date. But I thought if you have not had to worry about them for over a month, then this is really another time to get started. Alright, first off, the chart on the top left really took me some work around. It is a clustered and stacked combo chart that utilizes some helper columns. So before we get started, allow me to just show these to you. There they are. If you right click the chart and choose change chart type, and you will see that on the secondary axis I have the actual and budget figures clustered, so they are next to one another, while on the prime axis behind them I have stacked three different columns. The first column is my variance or base variance, which uses a min formula to return either the actual or the budget, depending on which one is smaller. And on top of that, depending on which one is higher, one of the variances is always 0, while the other one is positive or negative. So that the three bars stacked on top of one another give me a beautiful bar just as long as the actual or budget figure, whichever one is longer. Now let me hide that information once again. Next one up, a shape with a reference is a handy visual tool, as in the middle of our pie chart, referencing the cell A3. For data validation, I recommend using the name manager, referencing a table that will automatically expand if you put more data into it. All my lookups are very straightforward, not much to explain there. But when it comes to my stats formula, they do get a bit more complicated. The two takeaway tips here is when designing a complex formula using nest ifs, or particularly when involving different timelines, I work with a graph that looks a bit like that. Please note that this is not exactly what the formula is doing on the worksheet, but it helps to get your head around all the possibilities. I do encourage you to have the humility to pick up the good old paper and pen. It could save you hours of debugging later on, not to mention that keeping your documentation will help you not to forget what your sixth line of code is doing. The other tip is please do note that the formula calls on the characters by character numbers, so that formatting your column as wingdings will return these formulas. Now let's take a look at the code, the VBA code that sends our payments across to the transactions sheet. I won't talk you guys through the entire code, it is rather straightforward. Top tips here, my great love is getting around the range selection issues using the offset and resize. They are my particular favorite. Also, please note that I insert an extra line for each row of the table that gets deleted. And I think that's everything for today, guys. As always, if you have any questions, tips, or encounter any problems, let me know in the comment section below. Would like to thank Sanjana for editing these videos for me. Check out her page on Etsy following the link on the bottom right. DM her for a top answer if you need any assistance with illustrations or designs. Thanks for watching. Every one of you is awesome. Laszlo out.